In the autumn of 1387, Olivia, 20 years of age and orphaned before she could walk, had spent her life within these very walls, not as a lady, nor even as a scribe, but as a chambermaid. Her world was one of soot-streaked hearths, starched linens, and the sharp scent of lavender water. She wore a faded russet-brown dress, patched at the elbows, with a frayed white apron tied tightly at her waist. Her dark hair, thick and unruly, was always pinned back in a single braid, though stray strands clung to her temples like whispers of rebellion. Her eyes, deep brown, flecked with amber, missed nothing. She saw how nobles flicked crumbs to the floor without a glance, how guards softened their voices when speaking to kitchen girls, how magic was hoarded like gold while common folk burned for owning a single charm. Her mother, they said, had been a hedge witch from the moors of Devon. Accused of cursing the Queen's unborn child into stillness, she'd been hanged from the gallows tree outside the palace gates. Olivia had been told this story not with pity, but as a warning: know your place, or share her fate. Lady Ilara, the royal magister, ruled the arcane wing with icy precision. Talent without discipline is wildfire, Ilara had once muttered, loud enough for Olivia to hear. And wildfire burns the innocent first. Then there was Thomas, a young guard of 22, broad-shouldered and earnest, his leather armor polished to a dull gleam, a crimson sash marking his rank. He never spoke to Olivia beyond necessary courtesies, but sometimes, when passing her in the herb garden, he'd slow his step. Once, he'd left a sprig of rosemary on her windowsill, for memory, he'd said, though neither knew why he'd said it aloud. In Aldmere, blood dictated destiny. And Olivia's blood was stained. The feast of St. Cuthbert arrived with torchlight and roasted boar. Nobles laughed in the great hall, their goblets raised to the Queen's health, their silks shimmering under candlelight. Olivia moved among them like a shadow, refilling wine, clearing plates, her ears pricked to every word. Then she heard it. But that night, something else stirred in her, not just shame, but fury. And beneath it, a memory, an old kitchen tale about the royal spellbook containing the truthweave, a spell that could unravel lies and show the past as it truly was. If it existed, it could prove her mother's innocence. She waited until midnight. The palace slept, drunk on wine and merriment. Slipping past drowsing guards, she crept to the scribe's chamber and lifted a brass key from his belt. The arcane vault's door groaned open. Inside, the air hummed. Candles burned without flame. And there, on a pedestal of obsidian, lay the spellbook, pulsing faintly, like a sleeping heart. Olivia's fingers brushed the cover. The seal cracked with a hiss. She flipped to the index, found Veritas Textura, Truthweave, and began to read, mouthing the words, etching them into her mind. Footsteps. She whirled. Thomas stood in the doorway, his hand on his sword, but not drawn. Olivia, he whispered, voice tight. Put it back. Now. I can't, she said, clutching the book. This isn't theft. It's justice. He stepped closer. You'll be executed. Then let them try, she snapped. My mother died for a crime she didn't commit. If this book holds truth, I'll die knowing it. Within minutes, Lady Ilara appeared, her indigo robes swirling like storm clouds. Her eyes locked onto the open book. Foolish child, she breathed. Do you know what you've done? By dawn, the Queen's decree was posted. Olivia of Devon, for defiling sacred magic with unworthy hands, shall receive 6 strokes of the birch in the courtyard at sunrise. Let all witness the price of arrogance. The courtyard was silent as a tomb. Servants, guards, and nobles stood in rows, breath misting in the cold air. At the center, on a wooden stool, sat Olivia in only a thin linen shift. Her russet dress had been taken, part of the ritual to strip her of dignity. Her braid had been undone, her hair fell loose, tangled and damp with dew. Lady Alara stood on the dais, face unreadable. Thomas stood among the guards, his crimson sash bright against the grey stone, his eyes fixed on the ground. The Birch ward emerged, a hooded figure known only by the scars on his hands. He carried 6 birch rods, soaked in salt water to sting deeper. The first stroke cracked like thunder. Olivia gasped, her body jerking forward. The second tore a sob from her throat, but she bit it back. By the third, blood darkened the linen. The fourth, fifth, sixth, each sharper, each echoing off the palace walls. She didn't cry out. She stared at the royal banner above the throne window, a golden lion on crimson, and thought of her mother's face, the way she'd hummed lullabies in the rain. When it ended, Lady Alara descended. Without a word, she pressed a small clay jar into Olivia's bound hands, comfrey and yarrow salve. Then she turned away. Olivia was dragged to the scullery, her legs trembling, her shift sticking to raw skin. For a month, Olivia scrubbed pots in silence. Her back healed slowly, leaving faint pink lines beneath her dress. She spoke to no one, but her mind raced. She'd memorized most of the truth weave. In the dead hours before dawn, she crept to the stables and whispered the incantation over a bowl of well water. The surface shimmered. Visions rose, her mother kneeling not in guilt, but in warning. A vial of wolfsbane passed in secret. Lady Vera's hand, slipping poison into the Queen's wine. Her mother trying to stop it, and being accused instead. The truth was clear. But speaking it openly meant death. So Olivia began to act in shadows. She left a dried wolfsbane flower on Alara's desk. She scratched a rhyme into a wax tablet. Silver tongue, black heart. Truth lies where poisons start. She watched. Days passed. Then, one morning, Lady Vera was summoned to the Queen's private chambers, and never returned to court. Olivia stood on the courtyard wall at dusk, the wind tugging at her braid. Below, a carriage rolled through the gates under armed escort. Lady Vera, veiled and silent, exiled to a distant keep. Footsteps approached. Lady Alara stopped beneath her, looking up. No words passed between them.